a Vanduul bounty hunter has come to Stanton. And now, thanks to the recent horrifying news of human experimentation on his kin, a very disgruntled investigator as well. He hadn't come for justice, he'd come for vengeance, neatly packaged as bounty hunting, a respectable, profitable human endeavour. But his initial investigation into a few petty smuggler rings quickly revealed something far more toxic. His first concrete lead put him on a forgotten, frozen moon deep inside the domain of his sworn enemy, the United Earth Empire. The UEE had been a geopolitical thorn in their side for years, but this was crossing a line. The crucial informant was parked inside an Anvil ballista, which naturally was locked up tight. The hunter opted for the Vanduul approved approach, apply extreme, sustained ballistic pressure to the outside door. He intended to breach the hull, subdue the occupant, and extract the data. Whether the weapon had breached the door or the target had just decided to come out and say hi, we'll never know, but he was in. Because everybody loves to hate on the Vanduul, but really, when you see what I've seen and the things that humans have done, it really makes us look like innocent children compared to them. The target was taken care of, and the intel was obtained. As we suspected, the codename Hyperion would lead us to the Onyx facility. I erased any evidence and cleaned up all the loose ends. Because you may see us as the bad guys, but if the humans are going to abduct and traffic my brothers, then I might as well start my own collection. Okay, so after securing the intel from our target there, we made our way down into the Onyx facility, only to find that the bloody humans have only been experimenting on us, haven't they? Taking our hearts and stuff like that for their regen crisis. Typical. Anyway, I decided it was time to exact some revenge on the criminals of Stanton who facilitated this. So I made it down to the planet's surface with my all-new Vanduul blade that I'd managed to find in Nyx, which looks very cool. It's a traditional Vanduul blade that the Vanduul adolescents carry throughout their life. They're cast out into the world as young adults with nothing but this knife, and they have to make it in the world by just using the knife, which I'm going to attempt to do in most of this video today, when and where possible. Anyway, this guy seemed to just be looking out at the nice vista here, so it was ripe for the pickings, really. Somehow didn't get my blade out there for some reason, so I had to finish the job while he was on the floor.
Hey there, smooth skin, how you doing? Do you fancy negotiating your way out of this one?
He did not fancy negotiating, but the cool thing about 4.4 is that if he backspaces, I still get the money. Anyway, the intel from the last target has led me to the distribution centres, which I happen to know are the supply hub centre for all of the Vanduul bodies that they've been shipping to Nyx, or to and from Nyx I should say, and we started our investigation at the distribution centres with this Carrack, which you don't often see a Carrack around, and I had no idea what the target was doing inside the Carrack, but I decided to land on top and jump out, with the hopes that I could break in through either the top door or the hangar. Because I do know my way around the Carrack just a little bit, at least for breaking in purposes. But it turned out that the target had the hangar open, and he'd got this one of the brand new RSI Salvations inside. So I thought I'd just, drop down in and see what was what. But it looked to me as if this ship had been soft death, which meant I could just open the door and make my way inside. I made my way down to the lower bridge, which is a cool feature of this Carrack, and found the guy just stood in the corridor. So of course, blood for the blood god.
Hey there, smooth skin, how you doing?
Of course, I like to pretend that this guy was like the quartermaster that made it all happen, that shipped the Vanduul bodies.
Yeah, well, it seems you've been found guilty of Vanduul trafficking, so I'm gonna have to send you to prison.
So yeah, obviously I can't actually take these guys back to Nyx, back into Vanduul arms just yet, but I like to pretend that I can, And this guy seemed to have one of the brand new MTCs parked in his hangar around the back. around the front, so I thought I'd take it for a little bit of a spin since it was unlocked. It's pretty cool. This one had like a laser turret on the top, which is cool, I guess. I went and sat in the seat, but the seat display was kind of bugged, so I don't know. But pretty cool if you can put the new ballistic PDC on the top. That'll just auto-attack people for you if you're on your own. But yeah, we were back in the distribution centre, and we had to go inside this time because it looked as if someone had killed a security guard and was impersonating them, running around the tunnels underneath the main little foyer area here. But, you know, you have to kind of, if you're in these places and you're a criminal, you kind of have to have your back against the wall and try and find a choke point, because it has all of these little, like, vents and little gullies you can get into from upstairs and from downstairs. And unfortunately for this guy, he was right next to one of these, so he got taken down. I like to think that he was the facilitator at the distribution centre. He hacked the console in order to let the humans smuggle the Vanduul back into Stanton. But then we had to go even deeper into the facility, this time to go and take out some of the security team, because the security team had obviously, you know, let this all happen. They just let it happen right under their noses. Institutional corruption on Hurston is what I call it. Institutional corruption by the villains of the United Earth Empire. Going around the verse, just playing the colonial card. What are they up to? But anyway, we made it down there, and I'm sorry, but I caught you sipping. I caught you sipping. Possibly the worst time to be caught unawares. But anyway, took these two miscreants down. Another victory for the Vanduul. I was going to try and revive this guy and talk to him, but I think he'd already backspaced, so wasn't really much I could do. But yeah, he disappeared, so he was obviously a criminal. Anyway, the bounty completed a little while after. If your bounty doesn't complete, just give it time. But I was back again, this time onto the MicroTech distribution. So it's a MicroTech's in on this as well. It's like all the corporations are just in on this Vanduul smuggling. What's all that about? Anyway, the guy was on one of the landing pads, and instead of just, you know, rocking up in the Razor and blasting him, because he was right there out on his lonesome on the landing pads, I thought, no, I'll do it properly. I'll come into land. So I landed and made my way over there. I've got my Space AK at the ready, just in case I happen to get shot at. And it just looks as if he's just stood by his clipper on the landing pad. I don't quite know what's going on. Wanted man out in the open, susceptible to any amount of predators like pigeons and hawks that may come down and grab him and take him away, feed their young with. But no, just stood looking at his ship. So, you know, the old shank. Hello mate, how you doing? But I didn't really get to find out how he was doing because he didn't respond, so had to finish the job. But you know, I'm getting paid for it, and Kent still doesn't care that I'm a Vanduul, so. But you see, the funny thing is, if the previous guy had just been inside of his ship, then it would have been a lot harder for me to take him down, because as I found out here, it seems like the clipper is almost impossible to break into using my conventional Vanduul approved means of bullets to the cargo hold. Now I've sped this up 500 times here, and you can see I've got, you know, 8 mags of ammo on me or whatever. And it's just not going through, man. Like, what's all this about? This best not be a sign of things to come, I tell you, because if they're making ships now that you just can't break into, I don't know what I'm going to do. Anyway, not even the Razor's lasers managed to open it after the shields were down, and instead just blew the whole thing up. So, GG, I guess. But, you know, I was managed to get the cargo hatch actually open and get myself inside on a bit of a slant, but could still just about get up the ladders. And then up into the 3rd story of this clipper. Hiya, mate. How you doing? Alright, well, you're going back to prison, buddy. Again, no response from this guy. I mean, you know, in the context of this story, he's the dirty ASD operative that works down in Hyperion. Look, there he is. He's got his ASD armor on. We can all hate him because he does the evil experiments on a purely peace-loving sentient species that only retaliated to attacks. We're just misunderstood. That's all it is. Just misunderstood. Anyway, it seemed like one of the chief scientists of Project Hyperion was out for a run on Yellow, and when I turned up, this Intrepid had already beat me to it. But it's always nice to see another bounty hunter on the ground tasing the shit out of someone. Well done to this budding entrepreneur of bounty hunting. Bounty hunting on the ground like all good bounty hunters should. Okay, so it's Free Fly Week, obviously, and people are logging onto the game to be able to play for free and to be able to rent all the ships, which is very cool. But what it means is that not a lot of people are really paying attention to what's going on. You know, I've come up on this guy, landed and come down and looked at this guy, and he's just stood out in the open, not doing anything, not worried about carrying the world. There's gunfire going off around him, and he just doesn't care, so... Hello, what's all this then? Just very wary of bullets flying around me. What's going on here, son? But again, no response. You know, I don't know whether my voice chat's working or his voice chat's not working. Who knows, but I took his water. Oh, I'm going to take your water, lad. Any final words? There were no final words from this person. Nothing in chat either, so, you know, only one thing left to do, really. Score 1 for the Vanduul. So yeah, back out at bunkers. I really don't know why people are going to bunkers. The mission payout's crap, and it's just a death trap nowadays because this bug with the AI that just gives them 100% accuracy all the time. So you have to literally run around these facilities with a med pen out, as I think this guy found out, because he was just dead on the floor. But thankfully the AI don't finish people off, so I could just get the 150,000 credits for that, which was nice and easy, I suppose, apart from I had to get out. So I'm on my way out, but then no sooner were we out, then I had to come back in, because there was a different security post that had a different guy that had also just found out about the AI's 100% accuracy and had bitten the dust. But happily, another easy 150k for me. Not ideal, but, you know, it is what it is. Contract completes, and I'm back on out of there, but then again we come back down to another bunker. I think on Hurston this time, I can't quite remember where it was. They all just look the same to me after a while. Anyway, around the corner, team of two, not looking behind them, not pulling security, take them both out before the AI takes me out. And of course, I can't shoot any AI in here because then I'll get a crime stat as well because they're all Hurston security or Crusader security or whatever. But none of that really matters. Contract complete, another 150k, score another one for the Vanduul. Next up was a little bit more challenging though, shall we say. There was a Perseus up in the sky. Managed to get in without being seen, I think. And they're just extracting the battery from the Planetary alignment facility, little garage at the front here. So I'm just sneaking my way around, hoping I can get a shot in on the guy who's just in the garage here. There's F8 above there, doing some cartwheels. Unload on the guy, but he's in cover, and I don't really want to run over there, so I just chuck a cheeky grenade and then back off, loop round. But then there's this Apollo or triage up here with this guy looking out the back. I'm all very aware of, shall we say. So I'm like, oh, there he is, he's moving the battery. I can just shoot through the gap. But no, thanks CIG, nice geometry there. So I have to expose myself and shoot from the hip. Quickly take him down, reload. Take him out. And then just as I take him out, I get down. But thankfully, I collect the bounty. And, you know me, I'd like to use unconventional methods of bounty hunting. And I've, for some reason, thought that I might be able to just land my razor inside this constellation. Why not, right? Stranger things have happened, but no. It instantly blew me up. So, respawn in Grim, same objective, same target, but then the contract just completed. So, I don't know whether this is because of the bounty hunting changes, but I still got money for it. And then making my way out. What I like to do is if a target is in the hangar and they're going to be coming out in a ship, I like to wait on top of the, just above the hangar here, and then just like follow them out like this. And I'm no great pilot, but this Cutlass really just stood no chance against the Hornet Ghost. It's got size 4, size 3 ballistic Gatlings on it. And it really just made short work of this Cutlass, even though I'm not a great pilot. But of course, because it's the Armistice Zone, I couldn't get out and get more blood for the blood god, because I couldn't use my weapon, so just had to destroy him there and then. But yeah, the sneaky humans, they've been using the orbital laser to mine out all of this Karenite, which really, I mean, come on, if we're honest, it belongs to the Vanduul, right? So I had to do something about it. And this guy, wanted criminal, just not paying attention, mining himself away, no security, no nothing. You know, you would have thought that he'd be a bit more aware that he might just get shot. And I just kind of hung around, just on the off chance, you know, and then this little guy popped his head out, which I thought, oh, cool. If he hits me, like he does here, that means I can engage him now without getting a crime stat. So I did. And knocked him down. And I was hoping that he had some Karenite or something in his backpack. But he had nothing, so just try to steal all his meds, really. And then finish the job. But, you know, no self-respecting Vanduul bounty hunter would leave Stanton without tracking down the source of where all the bodies were going and taking down a capital ship in the process, as I obviously am wont to do. So happened to find this one just floating over Daymar, just not paying attention, completely still. Obviously there's atmosphere here, so I had to fly the Razor over the top of it and get out, otherwise I would have fallen to my death. And there was a wolf patrolling here as well that just happened to notice the Razor as I got out of it and lit it up. But I don't think he saw me, because I was able to just run off to the side here, trying to remember where the airlock is, and then run round. I was able to just hop onto the engine here, hop up to the top of it, trying to not get spotted here, and then just unload on the outer door, which, like I say, doesn't even take one full mag from the killshot rifle. And I'm in. And here we, like I've said before, it's not even 2 mags with the killshot rifle, it's less than 2 mags to get through this door. 1.5 mags to get through the door. And then you're in. And I don't know why, but for some reason, the guy was in a medical bed. In the medical bay. So I bust in there, like a good old mafia hospital killing, and took him down. Job done. You know what's coming next. So I'd made it up to the bridge, but one of his friends had already made it there before me. Luckily their aim wasn't as good as mine, and I managed to take them down, and then it was all the way to the pilot seat to hit the self-destructs. But I thought, just to prevent anyone else getting in and, you know, spoiling the party, I'd set the Idris off for a little spin, so it was at least moving, so no one could just jump in the airlock the same way that I did. Just flying it out a bit deeper into space before we jump off and make a run for it. The wreckage of either my ship or someone else's ship there as we blasted away from Daymar. And then it was out the airlock. Of course, the ship's still floating away into the distance. Mission accomplished, and we sat back and waited for the explosion. Of course, now with the destruction of this Idris, it meant that, you know, the Vanduul are one step closer to bringing peace back to the universe. You know? Because we're really only a peace-loving species, and I just don't see why we get persecuted so much. Anyway, I loaded up my own human cargo into the Asperia Prowler, and was ready to make my way to Nyx, because surely someone at Levski is willing to buy humans, right? Obviously can't wait for Bounty Hunting V2 at some point in the distant future when we can actually put people in cryopods, and I can ship them all the way to Levski and make a tidy profit in the process. Nothing illegal about that, right? Anyway, managed to get my human cargo all the way safely to Levski. And yeah, that's kind of it for the video, really. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe, and if you're feeling generous, I have a Ko-Fi page, links in the description. Thanks to everyone who's donated so far.